I'm set up here ready for the start of Operation Drive on Stalingrad, the first mission in that. And the mission I happen to have drawn is called the Battle for Romachkin. So the objective is Romachkin. It's worth 47 victory points out of the 100 for winning this operation. And the Axis start at the Chir River ford. If by any chance the Soviets gain that, they get 24 victory points. The Axis move first. Their objective is Romachkin. The Soviet moves second. Now Romachkin is down here. See, it's got a 5 helmet, which is adds to the defensive value of any unit there, and it's got 4 cover, so that's a very strong defensive position. Not only that, it requires an extra order to take it. So even if you have just eliminated or caused the withdrawal of all the units formations here, you have to pay another order just to capture that place. Likewise, the Chir River ford is not easy to get, obviously crossing a river, and that's quite not so strong defensive, but that doesn't really matter for the Soviets. Now this is the layout. It's quite an interesting layout in that apart from the objective, the Soviets have 3 locations. Now only one location actually joins to the objective, and this location is completely it's like a satellite location that joins to the middle one joins to this one, and this one joins the objective. The Axis have 4 locations, each joining to one of those 3, and then the middle one has 2 joining to it. So just on the face of that layout, the obvious line of advance would be down here. That's the quickest. So jumping off from here onto there and then to the base. Here though, there's an advantage because you could you can have sort of 2 formations feeding, 2 locations feeding into there. This one, there doesn't seem to be any need to take that, but the unfortunately the Axis, because they have 4 locations and they're all locatable via the Soviets, they have to guard those, or otherwise a Soviet could sort of jump from, if this was unguarded, he could jump from here and then threaten the base location. So that's a consideration that has to be taken into hand. Now the other thing we notice is that the Axis actually chooses 8 formation cards, but then the opponent randomly discards 2. It's 2. I hadn't realised that, and I have only discarded 1. So that's why I have these dice for when my son isn't here. He quite handily chooses for me. I have these dice to choose. So I'm going to do 2 groups, and that's the first group and the third one in the first group. So that's that. So that one. So these are the 2 that are out. Now, how did I choose my setup? What I did was I chose the 9th Panzer Regiment. That's the heart symboled one. So I got their headquarters. They have a Panzer battalion and another Panzer battalion integral to them. Then I chose the actual division headquarters because my idea is that I hopefully will get at least 1 headquarters on the decks, as it were, even though I have to discard 2 cards. Then the division headquarters has a diamond symbol, so these can stack with other cards under certain conditions. Then with that, I brought a Pioneer Battalion. I brought those basically for their infiltration and shock ability. I brought Panzerjäger Battalion. I brought those for their ability to go in under cover. So if, like we're going in against here, they've got a cover of 5, and here we've got a cover of 4. So as the attacker, you generally don't have any cover. So that is to try and mitigate that problem, to balance out that. And then an artillery. So I brought in the some divisional assets to support the 33rd Panzer Regiment. But as we can see, 1 Panzer Battalion hasn't made it. Perhaps there was too many breakdowns, and they haven't all made it to the jump off line yet. And I also brought on the Motorcycle Battalion. Unfortunately, they haven't made it. Now they would have been great because they can march to an advance 1 in one go. Normally the Germans are quite good with March 1 and Advance 1. The Soviets are not so great. They generally get, let's see, March. Oh, he's good. Like this one, March 2 or Advance. So they often can march or advance. What march means is that I could march to friendly locations and then advance to one enemy location in one go. So that I thought would be handy. You know, for example, if I find I have him covering here and then he can quickly join the fray as needed. But no such luck. Now this isn't such a bad loss because the Panzer Regimental Headquarters is able to commit, which means you can bring one unit of your symbol, I shouldn't call them units, they call them formations, one formation of your symbol out of the discard pile, so he can come back into play. Unfortunately, the divisional headquarters don't have the commit ability. They have assemble, which is bringing cards out of your hand. So effectively what that means is that one is not going to be featuring in this mission, although this one can come in. So that I don't think it's going to alter my setup. I still got a troops card here and he's covering the artillery, so the idea is for them to move forward. Really I wanted that Panzer battalion to go into the attack because I was hoping the defender didn't have any armour, but even this infantry unit has some armour, anti-armour capability. So it would be able to fight me back. So anyway, that's my setup. I think I'm going to leave it as it is now. I'm actually going to swap these around so I do have some armour able to march one, advance one if I need it, and troops covering here. So it was a decision because I wanted those troops able to do that for their infiltration if need be. But normally as a German I'd be setting these up not knowing exactly what. I'd know how many were in each location, but they would be turned upside down. So I wouldn't know exactly what I was up against. So I'm having to pretend there's a bit of that going on as I set up. Okay, so what's the Soviets? Well, they started with 7 cards and 1 randomly discarded. So I chose the Motorised Rifle Brigade. It's the biggest brigade in the deck. So it's got 3 battalions that come with it. The 3rd Rifle Battalion has gone out, but again we have this commit, so we don't have to worry about that. The 2nd is here, and the 1st I put here, and then it also has an integral mortar battalion, which was a bonus because the other brigades in the deck don't have integral artillery, so that was an advantage. In fact, it's got 2 integral artilleries, and I reinforced it with the Guards Tank Battalion. Now I realised earlier that I've done something illegal. You cannot have 2 different symbols in the same location unless one of them is a diamond symbol, and so this Guards Tank Battalion has to set up alone, which isn't going to make him as useful as if I had chosen a diamond symbol armour unit. Okay, I checked the upper echelon deck, the southwest front, and they did have a diamond tank brigade, so I've swapped that out. It was an oversight of mine at the beginning, so he can actually start there. So essentially what the Soviet fellow has done is he's put 2 artillery and the tank brigade there, then infantry here, and the headquarters here. Now in the setup, this is going to be considered the top unit. So the unit on the right is the top one. That means that one's targeted first. You might think, why am I letting that artillery perhaps be targeted first? Because I do want to save this. It's got a not too bad tank attack value on it, and it's got a good tank defensive, and I want that because if our opponent, as being a Panzer division, is bringing up tanks, we want some decent defense against that. So he's in the middle so that he can go either side. Hang on, but that's probably not a consideration. I could probably put him here but it's no matter. He's here if he's needed there, and he can move there quite quickly, because we don't. Our opponents like to strike here or here at the beginning. So that is the setup. Now we go to card draw. So we get the hands out and we start the first orders phase. Okay, so the Soviets are trained troops. They start with a hand size of 4 minimum. The Germans are elite. They start with a hand size of 5 minimum. Soviets can go to a maximum of 5 and the Germans to a maximum of 9. Now, so the Germans go first. What we do is we draw this card. There's nothing they can play immediately. It tells us they have 2 orders to start with. They've got some formation cards, a leader attachment and a defensive plan. Not so handy, but I was bulking out the deck. You know, we might need it in a certain position. But I've got 2 orders. We want to go on to the attack. I'm already cursing because I noticed that card would have been helpful to play as a card rather than for an orders check. But that's how it goes. No, it's only 2 orders. What we really want to do is spend an order on the headquarters, which will allow us to do some planning and reordering of cards, and then move these forward, and then bring the artillery in to soften up the position before the Panzerjäger battalion takes it. That would require a minimum of 3 orders. We've only got 2, so either we don't plan or we don't use the artillery. Or I just use the artillery and I don't advance into the location. I think that's going to be the plan at the moment. So I will spend the first order to activate the Panzer Division headquarters, which allows me to plan by reordering the top 5 cards. Then he can march and assemble units into his position. So let me think for a moment. I have here okay, so I think really for this, because I'm only going to be utilising the artillery, really I just need to get high barrage attack numbers on top, and but if I don't move the artillery, no, I don't want to move him. Okay, so I'm going to bring him forward, because otherwise the artillery is only going to get 1 shot, and that's what we'll have had 1 turn, 1 shot, nothing else essentially, though we will be bringing some more troops on board. I actually want to start the attack, so a bit of a risk, but what I'm going to do is, okay, so I will take a high chance number to try and balance out my cover being lower than what my opponents will be, and then seeing as I can see now that he is soft target. I don't have such, that Panzerjäger battalion does not have such a good soft target hit number. No, so I wouldn't be able to, that attack wouldn't go through. So it's going to have to be the artillery, just the artillery, which is a bit disappointing. Okay, so I get a good artillery number there. The first thing I should actually do is check these cards and see if there's any one that I desperately need, if one of the best cards in the deck, and if it is, I'm going to put it on top and spend my last order just to draw it and end the turn like that. None of them are absolutely right or like that. Okay, now I do have a bit of a tendency to do this, but I'm looking at what I've got. I'm actually I could change my plan. It could be a very risky thing to do because that is a good line of advance. But what I'm going to do is, with these cards, I can bring this fellow into definite shock attack, which I'm hoping is going to take out one of these artilleries, which will mean that, so it's effectively sort of taking out the flanks or the possible reinforcements against my drive there. So I've reordered the cards. It's also possible that I could get a hit on the tank brigade there as well, depending on how my shock attack affects the artillery. So that's my first then. So plan 5, then he can march 2. So in fact, I'm going to march him 1, 2 to this friendly position. Assemble. So from my hand, I can assemble any units. This is the same. Hang on a minute, I have stacking problems. I think I've made an illegal stack. Yes, I have. Hang on. Yes, it's to do with the application of the upper assets. So I have my Hearts Panzer Regiment here, and then I had lots of diamond symbol division assets. Now, normally they can only be, the divisional assets can only be stacked alone, more than one, if I already have some of the divisional assets with another formation like the heart symbol ones. So all that's meant that for my setup was actually illegal. So for the setup I would have had to have placed, for example, the headquarters there. So I'm just going to say that was at the setup. So in this case he can now assemble this unit into his hand, which is an artillery, into the location, which is from the hand. So that's an artillery unit. And then I could also do a chance check and discard an enemy aircraft card in case they had one in their hand. That might be worth doing, and I could have fixed it, that was going to happen, but I needed to use my planning for this. So now my second order will be to activate the 86th Pioneer Battalion. So he can advance 1 to here. Then on a 4 he can infiltrate, so I know that's a 4 because I reordered it, so he automatically goes to the infiltrate position. Then if I get another 4 chance check, which I know I'm going to, he can automatically shock attack if infiltrated. So here's a shock attack value of 8. That's, simulating things like the demolition charges and stuff like that a Pioneer Battalion would have, extra kind of portable heavy weapons. So I get that shock attack. I know what I'm going to get. I get a 7. So 7 and 8 is a 15. So that's going up against the artillery battalion. It's just as well that the Soviets had protected their tank brigade behind an artillery battalion. So we have a 3 plus 3 for the terrain. There's no cover coming into effect with this, with a shock attack. So it's 6 versus, what did I say, 15. That's not quite 3 to 1, that's isn't more than 2 to 1. So 2 results cards, 1 hit, hold on chance 2 or 4, and the other hold on chance 1 or 7. So that means he's not going to hold, but he is withdrawn with just the 1 hit. Good, that's what we wanted. Now we go to combat. So now I know that my next card is a 5, so I have to check the cover modifiers. I'm infiltrated, so I have 2 here, plus my 5 is a 7. Now they get a basic 4. Soviets draw a chance check, now that number. They get a 4 there as well, so they have 8. So they're going to fire first. Shucks, okay. So I'm soft target, he's got 6 versus soft target. Ouch, this could be nasty. Okay, 6, so that's 12. I've got 1 defensive modifier here, and I'm on 4, so that's 5, which fortunately just means it's 2 instead of 3 results. 5 against 12. Hold on chance 1, 4, 5, hold on chance 1 or 7. So I'm going to hold on a 1, matching both of them. It's not likely, and no, I don't get that. So he is withdrawn. Having performed a handy attack, it has to be said. But now he's out of the mission. He can come back in for the next one because he doesn't have any hits on him, unlike this one. The Soviet one. Okay, so that is the German turn over. Now we'll withdraw the hand back to the minimum. Okay, nothing I can play immediately. Now the Soviets have partisans, a fortune card. They're going to play that immediately. The enemy wastes 2 cards. So we just do that. And that was one very nice card wasted there. Which leaves them with just 3, as it happens, action cards. So if we do go to their orders number, which is a 1, so they only get 1. They've actually got a maneuver card here. They could play that to do another orders check. Is that necessary at this moment? Well, it's always good. However, it's kind of sitting pretty. In fact, we could go to the enemy. We threaten the enemy base line there. Of course, that would leave us open. So we would really only want to do that if we could get there for definite. But it takes 2 orders to get over the Cheer River. It's not going to happen. It would be nice to go here and then possibly attack this way. But again, that's leaving us open. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go for another orders check. So I spend the order to activate that card, which is a hasty attack maneuver, which gives me 3 extra orders. Okay, so now I've got 3 orders. Fortunately, I don't have any troops in hand. What I could do is spend an order and bring on a reinforcement. I think that is necessary at this point. I can bring it anywhere, and I could possibly... It's very tempting to do that now it's wide open, but unless I can get there immediately, it's going to leave me too weak here. Unfortunately, that opportunity I do not think can be taken. So I'm going to spend an order to get a reinforcement card. I can put that on one of my friendly locations immediately. So for example, it's a 1524th Sapper Battalion. Wow. So not an amazingly strong card, but he's got that shock attack ability. So not that great on defence. Do I put him here or here? That is the question. I think I'm going to put him... No, actually his defence number is higher than this one. Okay. Okay. I'm going to put him there on defence. He can stack with that fella. Which gives me 2 orders left. I've got an aircraft card here. It's not very strong, but it would allow me to bomb a target. So yeah, let's do that. We're going to try and disrupt the attack. So I think I can bomb any target in... Yeah, an enemy card in any location. Any card. So I'm going to go against the divisional headquarters. That would be a lovely target to take out. So that's going to be 2 attack value, and I get 5 there, 7 versus 3 and defensive 1, so he's on 4, so that's going to be 1 hit. Hold on chance 1 or 6, so he's likely to be withdrawn. 7, yes. And that was General Paulus I just put on the discard there. So he is the 9th Panzer Division headquarters takes some damage from an air attack from a P-39 Airacobra. I guess some of the staff are knocked out, and it has been withdrawn from the action. That is a terrible blow to the Germans. But the Soviets are lacking in troop cover. However, we've got one order left. We're going to... this artillery is a mortar battalion, so it doesn't have the range of heavy artillery. It can only barrage if a unit that is in contact, not one, a formation in contact, not one over there. So I think the only thing I could do is spend the last order to activate the headquarters, which allows me to plan. I reorder 2 cards from my deck, which isn't really going to affect anything actually, because I'm going to draw them to bring my hand up. Allows it, but I get to look at them at least at this point. Okay, then I can march 2 and I could commit. So I am able to commit the unit that was discarded at the beginning of the mission. Do I need to march? I don't think so. So I'm going to commit him here. And that is the end of the Soviet turn. We draw their hand back up. And we go over to the Germans, who get 2 orders. I'm just going to pause to give you time to think. Okay, so the Soviets have managed to reinforce themselves quite handily. The one thing is that now this reinforcement will not be available for the rest of the operation. I can't remember if it will come back for further operations in this campaign. But anyway, so that's one thing. So I'm thinking that they've reinforced it's going to be hard to get through to here, especially with our divisional headquarters gone, but we've still got the regimental headquarters, so all is not lost. I'm thinking we might try taking out this strong unit to take that out of the whole campaign. So we might just go for their strongest unit, and this is a slightly weaker position, instead of continuing on through here. So we've got 2 orders. I think what we're going to do is do artillery barrage and hope that the Soviets don't have a chance to recover from that. So 1 order to activate this artillery unit, barrages here. So he's on a 6, he gets a 5, so that's 11 versus 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 1 result. That's 1 hit. Hold on a chance of 2. We don't get the 2, so that tank brigade is actually withdrawn. Good. Now maybe I could advance. Yeah, we're going to try and take this position. Now we have the chance. So the second order is to advance with the Panzer Battalion. So he advances to the attack position. He's going to bring the artillery with him. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I had a chance, on a chance check, I could have targeted this artillery from back there, but that would require drawing a card, and without planning it is likely not to happen. I don't want to waste another card doing that. So, okay, advance 1. On a 4 he can flank. He doesn't need to flank against the artillery, because the artillery won't be able to fight back. So we go straight to combat. There's no fight back possible there, so go straight to the results, and it's 5 and 5 is 10. He's on 6, so that's only 1 result card. They got quite good cover there. 2 hits destroys that, so that is destroyed, which goes onto the victory pile of the German side, and they immediately are able to take Petrov's farm. So now they're on the defensive in that location. That's the end of the German turn. They didn't spend any cards from their hand, so we go over to the Soviet turn, which is 3 orders. That's going to be good for them because they have a unit here they can bring up. Unfortunately, it's not troops, but it is artillery, and seeing as the objective is directly threatened, they need to reinforce that. They might as well draw someone back from here too. Maybe both or one of them. They've got a commissar in their hand, so they're going to be clever. What they're going to do is they're going to play one order. The commissar's going to come attached to this artillery, which is going to go here, and then they're going to spend another order to activate the artillery, which activates the commissar attached. On a 4, we're going to get another initiative check. So either we burn a card or we get a 4, and in fact 2 more orders checks, I should say. So that's great. 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 more orders. Thank you, Commissar. Then we also get to barrage in contact, which isn't happening, and then that could march if necessary. It isn't necessary. I don't see any point in him being there now. He can't get to here because he has to go that way. So he's completely isolated, essentially out of the fight, unless I could send him into attack here. I don't know why I would do that. Oh, that was from before, wasn't it? Okay. So, I've still got 5 orders to play with, which is fantastic. And in fact, oh, okay. It looks like a counterattack is actually in order. So I'm going to spend 1 order to activate the headquarters, which will allow me to do a bit of planning. What cards do we have? Covered approach card. That's a very nice high number there. What attack numbers are we likely to get? I'll turn off to think a bit. So I said this card was isolated and going to be useless for the mission. I think, actually, he's going to attack through here. There's only a headquarters here, and that we've got enough orders that we can possibly take. Oh no, we're good. Okay, I'd need a reinforcement for that. Okay, let's see how it goes. I'll show you what happens in case it works out. Okay, so I've reordered those. He can march 2, and then he can commit. I don't have any others to commit, do I? No. Okay. Yeah, no one else. So this guy's on his own, but he can a reinforcement could join him. So we're going to activate him. He's going to advance to the attack here at the church. I won't bother for infiltration or observation because he's not going to get. I know he wouldn't get the numbers from my planning. So we go straight to prepare cover numbers. So I get a 7, which is a very high number, the highest you get from the deck. Unfortunately, he gets 5, matching the 2 cover he has is a 7. So we're going to shoot at each other at the same time. I get 3, 4. Why did I do that? I can't perform a hit on him. Okay. That was foolish, but he gets 2 hits on me. No, I should have stopped. I should have stopped with the advance and brought in a reinforcement immediately. Terrible mistake. No, sorry, no, that's his attack number, isn't it? Okay, so he has 6, 9 plus 2 is 11, and I'm on defensive 4, so it's going to be 2 results, 2 hits. Yep. So I don't even need to bother. So he's destroyed. Dear. If this wasn't on camera, I would actually have taken. I would have taken that back and stopped him there. But I think some of you might think that's a no. And in reality is I'm trying to do that less and just accept my mistakes, even as a solo player. But sometimes they're kind of just stupid like that, and I excuse myself by thinking, oh well, I am playing 2 sides. It's a lot to hold in my head all at once, and especially when I'm playing on camera. No, that's not an excuse, because I make mistakes off camera like that as well. But yeah, so what I should have done was just advance him there, then spend another order for a reinforcement. The reinforcement would come on fresh. Reinforcement might be able to take that one out, and then for a third reinforcement would come on fresh, and then it could have moved up there. And in fact, I don't think we would have had quite enough orders, but at least we would have been threatening that, and the Germans would have had to pull back to defend their base, or spend orders to defend their base instead of pressing their attack. So that was the idea. It completely backfired, going to upper level stupidity. We still have 3 orders left. Well, that's one thing. So I could still perform a similar kind of maneuver. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to bring on a reinforcement with 1 order. And we have troops with a better capability against armour. It's an anti-tank regiment. So then, with my last 2 orders, I'm going to advance him. And he goes into combat. It's a risk because I don't exactly know what's going to happen. He's got a cover of 3 that goes with him being anti-tank against the 4. So we get the first hit in. I get a 4 plus 3 is 7. So that will get not quite a hit on that headquarters, because that is a nice defensive position. Ah dear. Well, it was worth a go, but it's not going to happen. I could have spent the last order to do a probe from out of my hand using the action card probe, which is an initiative orders check. So that gives me 2 more. And then with that, I'm going to spend 1. You can see I'm going for this. I'm really pressing it. Go for another reinforcement, which is artillery. That can come on here. In fact, he can come on with this fellow immediately, and that is my last order, isn't it? So we are threatening quite handily. Okay, that's the end of the Soviet turn. That was quite... You can see how when you get those manoeuvre cards and the extra orders checks, you can see how you can get a lot of orders at once. And if things had gone to plan, we could have got right in there. You can see how it can happen, especially if you have that at the beginning. One mission can be over very quickly. But it isn't the case here. So 3 orders for the Germans, and they have problems. So we have some cards in our hand we can bring in to defend this. We've got a headquarters and a troop card, unfortunately from different organisations. We could also draw back some of these, but we want these to press on. I could draw these back, which then these would have to decide whether to join that. I can't play any of these formations to join him. I could bring on a reinforcement. I'm going to do that. Don't like to, but because the Germans, being elite, they only have 2 reinforcements available for this whole operation at least. So, okay, bringing on those troops to support the headquarters there. I'll put them at the top. It's quite a strong defensive position, but a bit worried about the artillery there. Well, we'll have to do what we can do. So I've got 2 orders left. I want to press the attack. I'm hoping that has bolstered that enough. Okay, so artillery barrage. Activating that one. Oh no, hang on. This is connected to that location. That location does not connect to that, so we have to go through here, which is why I needn't have bothered with this. Terrible planning on both sides. Okay, so in fact what we're going to do is they're going to go in. To contact. I'm going to spend the last order to activate the artillery. Okay. So target cover 5 or less, yes. So we get badge number 1, but we have strong artillery here, so that's 9. He's on 7, so that's going to be hold on chance of 3. And that was a 5 chance check, so that reinforcement is withdrawn under heavy artillery fire. I get you could consider it, it's kind of like completely disrupted and ineffective now. Then I can continue with the text barrage in contact. I brought this up, so we are in contact. So I get a barrage against this fellow. That's a 3 plus 8. So that's 11 versus 6. Unfortunately, only 1 result check, but hold on chance 2, 4, or 7. So he's likely to hold. I get a 3, so no. That artillery barrage is very effective to completely disrupt the defenders. Panzerjäger battalion moves in and we take that position. And now this fellow could march to, so he could march to another location like back there, but now I want him to threaten Ramachkin. So we're in the Abamba woods. So interesting positions as we go over to the Soviets. Draw 1. Now the worry here for the Germans is that the Soviet deck is getting quite slim. So they could burn through that, especially as if we're putting hits on them. We've got 3 formations to take out here before we can have any chance of claiming Ramachkin. Now I forgot to bring the Soviet hand back up to 4, so I'm just doing that now. Okay. What we actually have there is the colonel of the motorised rifle brigade, the rifle brigade we have out. So I could use our only order to bring him on here, which is going to be greatly helpful later. But because I have the commissar, I use our only order to activate the artillery, which gives us on a 4+ initiative, which 4 chance check, 2 orders checks. I got that, so 3 and 3, bang, 6. You can see some cards like that commissar are very powerful. So we've now got 6 orders, which means I'm immediately going to spend 1 to bring on this battalion with the colonel. In fact, no, I'm going to spend 2 orders to bring on the battalion in one go, and then the colonel on separately, so I can attach him to the headquarters. This way I'm able to plan. Oh, no, plan 2. No, that wouldn't work. No. So he's going to come on with that fellow. And I could actually put him here. Okay, let's try that. So we got a fair bit of defence there. Okay, so I bring them on there. No, because he has to go to the baseline if I the backline. Only reinforcements can go immediately to that kind of location. So I can bring on the rifle battalion there, and I'll use the other one to put the colonel here with the anti-tank regiment. It's risky because if he dies, he dies. Okay. Then I'm going to use another order to activate that regiment. So I get to plan with that colonel 2 cards, 4 and 1 chance. Okay, so I can't observe with him, but I can see what numbers we have. Nothing really great I can do with that. See, the Soviet planning is often not as good as the German planning ability. No, I can't do anything through there. So that is a bit wasted for there, but at least I can plan for if I do something here. No. No, doesn't help me at all, because I don't think I can do anything. I can't barrage from here. And they're not cards that I know I want to. Pick out. I know what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to do it like this. No. Okay, it's just going to be for barrages. Okay. So I'm going to spend another order, activate the artillery here. So we're going in on a barrage of 8. No, that's not going to be high enough. That isn't high enough. The cover's too high. I can't do anything, and I got orders to spare. 3 orders to spare. So I think what that means is I will order these cards that way, spend 1 order to bring that one into my hand. No, it doesn't help because I've already activated him. Now there's one question I have which isn't covered in the rules, is can you save orders from turn to turn? There's no script that says you can pass. So I think that means you can't. I'm going to take it as rules as written. If it's not written in there, you can't do it. There's nothing that says you can't, but there's nothing that says you can. And I played it before that you can, but I'm going to play it for this campaign at least that you can't. So I'll have to spend those 3 orders or else they're going to be wasted. Which is alright because I'm burning through the deck. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, and then 3, so bring my hand up to 5, which I wouldn't normally be able to do. Okay, so that's the end of the Soviet turn, and their deck is halved it from when we last checked. 2. So the Germans really have to gain their objective here. If they don't, the Soviets will get those 47 victory points for it. I really blundered with thinking I could come through here. One said I have to go around here. Anyway, there's nothing for it. We'll just have to continue. First, we play a maneuver, probe, initiative 1 times order check, which gives us 3 more orders, 1, 2, 3, so we're up to 4 orders, which isn't bad. So we could move up, combat, march 1, advance 1. Okay, so I can bring that one up as well. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to bother to plan. Just going to activate Panzerjäger Battalion. He's bringing up the artillery behind him. So he advances, goes straight into combat. So he's likely not to get it because they've got high cover. So 4, no. So their cover check is 4 + 4 is 8. So they get first hit, but that's how it goes, and they get 5, 6, 7. I'm on 5, so one results 2 hits, and that is destroyed. Ow! Oh no, sorry, that's 3 versus, and I've got 4, and they have 4. Oh, so they did, yeah, there was a chance I could get that. So no, that's it. So he's destroyed. Victory, 18 victory points to the Soviets. Okay, then the next order is you activate the artillery. So they get the barrage once. So that's 12. And the cover here is 5, so he's on 9, so it's only 1 check. 2 hits, he can take 3. Hold on chance 2, 4, or 7. That's a 4, so he holds. And we're in contact, so we get another barrage. 3, so again that's 11. Hold on chance 1 or 6. That doesn't match any numbers there, so it automatically is withdrawn because of that. But the Soviets are down to 4 cards. That's not going to be enough for us to get through here. So the best I can do is to try and take out another unit or 2 to grab back some victory points. So one more order to activate Panzer Battalion here, bringing the artillery with him. So he marches 1 here and gets to advance 1 to here, and then he gets combat. Now the Soviets, there's no chance of winning. I suppose there's a slim chance of winning on first hit. 6, no way with that. So the Soviet gets the first go, and he's 2, 3, so that's nothing. Then I've got 5 plus 3 is 8, but they have cover of 5. 4 there, so that's 9, so no dice there. And we've got 1 order left. The best thing I can do is just barrage. So I'll activate this fella as the last order. And we get 11 on him, so he's going to get 1 results card. Hold on chance 3 or 5. So that means I draw the last card he actually holds. And that is at the end of the mission. So night stops play or some such. And that is how it goes. Would the Germans have got through if I just concentrated on the attack there? They might well have done so. Silly me. Okay, so the fallout is the Germans gained 15 victory points for those 2 units. The Soviets gained 18 victory points for that single unit, and then 49 for successfully defending Romachkin. So effectively what that means is the Germans are going to have to win the next 2 missions. They can't. If the Soviets win the next mission, that's it. The operation is over. So now we just do the sort of clean up things. So ending mission. So remove reinforcements cards. The reinforcements cards go to the bottom of the reinforcement deck. So they're not available for the rest of this operation. Okay. Withdrawal cards with hit stay in the withdrawal area. So that's 3. So the Germans did actually have withdrawn 3 units from the rest of this operation on the Soviet side, and they have none in theirs. So, you know, they gained some tactical advantage but lost quite badly strategically. And any formation card which didn't have a hit would go back and would be available in the deck for the next mission. So put all these back in the decks. Okay. Oh, sorry, the Germans did have 2 withdrawn units, but they had no hits, so they come back into the deck. Did they bring a reinforcement? Have I done that? Yeah, they did. So they've only got 1 reinforcement left for the rest of the operation, whereas the Soviets have 6 or 7. No, well, no, they drew 2, so I think 5. Because they're less a quality unit, they get a balancing structure in that. Okay, so then these will go back, and we draw our next mission. Let's just have a quick peek before I turn off the video. So the next mission is Action at State Farm 172. Now this is interesting, is that the objective is Soviet. So 5 formation cards on the attacker's side, and this is worth 35 victory points. Their base is worth 18, and a few locations on the Soviets, so they only get 4 cards. The opponent discards 1, so they're going to start with 3, and the German is going to start with 4. That will be interesting to play out. And that's it. So that was one mission. We'll see if the play is better in the next one.